Beware the digital classroom.
Hey, I'm Lewis, and welcome to the learning module of Beware the Digital Classroom. Within this presentation, you will recognize the usefulness of technology in the classroom and create a more digital learning environment. This learning module is broken down into 3 topics of study, which are addressing the fear of technology and facing it, easy to use tools and resources, and using social media educationally. In our addressing the fear of technology and facing it portion, we will look at the problems and solutions of technology, setting boundaries, knowing your limits, and establishing a digital network. Next, we will look at easy to use tools and resources. This section includes how to introduce technology to parents, teachers, and students, digitizing the classroom, and organizing your assignments and starting small. Finally, we will have using social media educationally, which includes the question, why does social media bother me? Strategies to use social media responsibly, and the benefits on effective usage of social media. I hope you find this learning module helpful and beneficial to your profession. Enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started.
Fears that go along with the digital classroom. Technology can be a distraction to learning. Students don't have equal access to the technological resources. A disconnection with social interaction, more intensive lesson planning. Technology can create more cheating in the classrooms dealing with assessments. Solutions towards the digital classroom. Set boundaries and limitations for students' usage of technology. Utilize resources that can make technology more fun and effective. Expression of the life skills that are applied with the use of technology in a more global society. Technology helps alleviate a lot of tedious tasks and allows instant access to information.
To set boundaries in incorporating technology in your curriculum, you should follow these steps. Step 1. Be clear about your rules and expectations. Students and parents should sign an acceptable use policy so they understand what is expected for misuse and the consequences for violations. Step 2. Ensure digital citizenship. Any device used or brought should focus as much on behavior as organization. This prevents any trouble occurring from students. Step 3. Find an adequate use of a network. Problems normally happen when students or teachers congregate and use their technology simultaneously. Step 4. Work in areas of technology that makes you comfortable. Don't try something new unless you've developed an understanding of that technological initiative. Allow yourself to have time to master what you want your students to learn before presenting it to them. This is just common best teacher practices. Remember, don't be afraid to experiment with technology. Even if something doesn't go well or you fail at a task, remember, failure is essential to learning. Students must know that. Feedback is the best way to get students beyond that. In establishing a digital classroom, it is in best professional practice to network with other educators over a digital environment. It is also important to pass this information along to your students in building relationships. I'm going to take you through a few sites just to demonstrate. One of the first sites that I'm going to look at over here is Mastery Connect, which is used by my school district, and this is my profile page. In Mastery Connect, you can link up with other educators by just clicking the community tab at the top, which I'm not going to do just for the privacy of the names and images displayed by my other colleagues. You can view and use assessments by other teachers. And here are a few of the assessment items that you can use that have been created by other teachers for your use in the classroom. And you can also use pins, and pins different things that you know that you've enjoyed. It's just like Pinterest, and these are some things that you may can also use in the classroom and pin them just like you would at on Pinterest.com. Another good resource that is good for educators to use is YouTube, which I'm pretty sure we're all very familiar with, and it is a useful tool in education. YouTube, with YouTube, you can create a page or a channel, record videos, and then upload them on YouTube. Here are a few of my videos that I've done just for my course in EDET 603. And of course, here's my introduction page. And of course, even with some of the YouTube videos, you can use subtitles, which is good for your classroom instruction, which I think is very beneficial. Also, if you want to share a video and upload it to any social network, which we will talk about later, you would just click the share button. And it gives you a list of different social media outlets you can share your videos and all of your other resources with, anything that's instructional. And we'll talk about those things that can go with social media a lot later. Alright? Another good resource I think that is good to use is blogger.com. With blogger.com, and these are just a few blog sites I'm just going to discuss, blogger.com is a good site. I have yet to find inspiration to record or write down my first blog, but it will be up soon. Blogger.com is very useful, and a lot of educators use it to post blogs. Another good blog site for teachers and students is kidblog.com. It's another free site which you can use set up for your children, and y'all can have blogging at different various blogging plans for my students, which is good for communication. One of my favorite sites that I'm going to discuss finally is edmodo.com. Edmodo is used in my school and is definitely used in my district, which I've really grown to appreciate. Just like Mastery Connect, you can link up with your school and other teachers. Here's my class page that I've developed for my students, the Lewis Learning Leaders, and I just pose a simple question, which not all of them really voted for. Well, what devices do you have to use away from school? And you can see some of them did respond. But here you can actually post assignments and assessments for students, and they can also use these things for discussions, which can be used for a grade. Here you can also have a profile page, just like if it was like a social media group on Facebook, where you can set up a social media page and connect with other teachers as such, and it gives you information about the school. And also, one of the things I like, it has a home page where you can have other groups, other professional groups that you can establish with your teachers and in the learning community. Alright? And so those are just a few of the sites that could be used for your professional development and for your professional learning. Even though I showed you these sites on my computer, they are accessible in any handheld or mobile device. Understand that establishing that professional network builds growth for you, your colleagues, and your students.
The purpose in drafting a letter for parents and teachers is to introduce the purpose by the use of technology. Make sure that your intentions are clear within the letter. This helps with concerns, establishes expectations, and addresses the problems and solutions. You also want to let your parents know the things that you will be incorporating in using technology in your classroom. Here, on the right, is a sample letter that can be used to present to your parents and your teachers.
Are you ready to digitize your classroom? Here are a few key tips for a smooth transition into a digital learning environment. Point number 1, don't pile on projects and assignments all at once. Too much at one time will push students away and make them feel overwhelmed. Point number 2, don't take on more than you can handle. It's okay to have an alternative means of instruction, but trial and error, especially with technology, is still the best way to learn your limitations. Point number 3, understand that first, no technological resource can ever replace the effectiveness of the actual teacher. Your job as a teacher is to introduce to students how to use technology effectively. And point number 3, gradually introduce students to assignments that are to be completed through a network, possibly as extra credit first. If you follow these points, then this should be a good starting to developing your digital learning environment. It's not a good idea to start your students off with assignments that may be difficult to complete using technology. It's best to start out with a plan, develop a curriculum, and introduce a few technological objectives at a time. Here's how. Introduce one multimedia program for each assignment. Presenting students with too many programs will not only overwhelm them, but they will lose the motivation to succeed. Assign multiple tasks using that multimedia program. Once you introduce that program to your students, continue with assignments that will allow more practice using that program. That way, their comfort with that current program will make them feel good about new programs. Inform parents and students before you begin using a new multimedia program. It is fair for students and parents to know your plans. They may be able to study that multimedia program outside of your coursework and prepare in a timely manner. Have students use whatever technology or multimedia program frequently. Frequent use will condition students to maneuver more fluently through not just only one, but multiple multimedia programs. Eventually, your students may teach you things you've never learned before. Find a way to incorporate technology into your classroom management plan. This can be done through various ways and can be done creatively. For example, you can use gamification and treat assignments and tasks like a game where they earn points and are rewarded. You can also develop rubrics and rules for students to gain higher levels in understanding of multimedia resources. However, once your students have had experience with the technological objectives you presented them with, you can then put what they learned together for bigger assignments. In the end, it will be rewarding for you and your students. I'm really passionate about this part of the module because I hear so much about why social media is bad for our society. Well, like it or not, it's used very frequently to our population and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. So I'm first going to address the issues with social media, then show how they are beneficial in education. First off, I hear that social media is time consuming, and there's research that show that social media is used so much that nothing is accomplished. It's a distraction and causes little productivity. This is why a lot of companies, businesses, and workplaces block social media websites. Another thing that we hear about social media that there's no privacy. Sometimes social media encourages more people to become more public about their lives or their personal lives than they would like to. A lot of sites allow their users to control their privacy settings and what's posted. However, that isn't always the case, and you want to be more careful about what you post. This could be detrimental to your profession or whatever career that you choose to pursue. There's also anonymous users that get on social media websites. It's important to be very careful with who you are connecting with and the safety of yourself as well as others. It's easy with the accessibility of technology to link up with just any person that you don't know. An anonymous user can gain unwanted information, and you want to be very careful of that. Grammar and web talk is also out there. It's difficult to keep up with the lingo that's always forever changing. Even though it's supposed to make communication easier, too much tech jargon can leave its users confused. Cyberbullying is real, and it can happen to our students. It is harmful and unhealthy. It's really a poison when it comes to social media to the person being bullied, where studies have shown it to lead to depression and even suicide. 42% of our society has been reported to be victims of cyberbullying. Finally, social media is said to bring a false sense of connection. This means it becomes difficult to build meaningful relationships and connections in the real world. So these are the disparities that go along with using social media. Hopefully, in this next session, I can address some solutions and the benefits of social media towards education. So, in removing the disparity that social media brings, it's important to look at some social media programs that can be looked at and viewed upon as positivity towards the use of social media. So let's go ahead and let's look back at a few social media sites that will be good for use and why they're good for use. The first one is the one that we mentioned before, which is Edmodo. Edmodo is a great alternative to the popular group, which is Facebook, in which if you want to connect with your students, you could do so on Edmodo, which is a great alternative from Facebook. Facebook allows a lot of students to go in and they can post whatever they would like to, and there really isn't too much privacy. As we talked about before, privacy is a big thing when working in social media. And of course, they can have their own profile page, which they can update their profile with information, and it'll be between you and your students. And as well, it's a learning tool, so therefore you can post assignments. You can post uh, assessments for them. Like I know I showed before that students can go to a personal page that you've created for them, and you can create a poll and figure out what their interests are. So this is definitely a way in which social media can be used personally. Students can also hold their own group discussions, which shows community building and relationships in the classroom. A next social media site which is used appropriately is Twitter. This is my Twitter account that my students can follow at Mr. Idot-Lewis. Idot-Lewis, if you want to follow me as well, it'd be good for you to do. This is pretty much when you tweet, and tweets are just updated information about things that are going on. Here are a few tweets from some of the people that I follow, some of my colleagues. Now, this is a good way for students to connect because you can figure out, what's going on with them, what things that are going on in the classroom. They can be updated through Twitter. Of course, these are one of these sites where you have to set boundaries and rules of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But it can be a tool that's good for use when looking at social media. Another very popular social media tool is Instagram. Now, I just created my Instagram page for the usage of my students, but it shows pictures that can be posted. This is a good tool to use to show your parents, your students, things that are going on in your classroom, things that are going on outside the classroom that relates to your students. But it's definitely good, and of course, I don't have anything set up yet because, like I said, I just created this account. But once you follow more of your students and your coworkers and colleagues, you can see what's going on in the school systems. Finally, another positive outlook, and this is a fairly new uh, social media site that's growing very rapidly. This is called Periscope. Now, with Periscope, you can follow people, and this lets you see things live and in action. It's a video outlet, so depending on who you follow, it shows you things that they're doing actively right now, and sometimes even can save it for later if you want to view it later. So, for example, if I was to click this play button here, it shows what's going on visually, like whoever that person's following. Alright, and it gives a nice little visual of what
We're
that
on
person
Koh
sees.
Samet Island in
Alright,
Thailand. Hey guys! Sunrise in Tokyo.
and that's just a visual example of what some people use Periscope for, and it shows what students can write. They can comment on what they're seeing, which is a very good tool for students to use. I hope this section will help you explore and think considerably about using social media. I chose these in particular because they are good with social media. And of course, you have to set those boundaries. You have to set those rules and you have to set those expectations. But these are sites that could be good for use for students if you want to engage them more in the digital learning environment. Thank you, and I hope this helps you out.
Here are the overall benefits of social media if used appropriately and for educational purposes. It builds relationships and effective communication. Social media site provides more tools and resources beneficial to education. Social media allows flexibility for the users and can allow a place for an online classroom.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of Beware the Digital Classroom. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot from it. I really enjoyed making it and hope that you gained some insightful things about what to use to start digitizing your classroom. We talked about a few things in the module that would help you become a better teacher in technology. Some things that we covered is using social media responsibly, and there are some negative issues with social media, and we addressed those. And we also looked at how we can use those things educationally. We also talked about introducing technology to your teachers and your students so they can be aware of what they're getting into. They know your expectations and the outcomes and establishing those things. And finally, we talked about establishing a digital network. So it doesn't seem like an overwhelming project for you. It's good to connect with other teachers, other colleagues, so that you can get an idea, multiple ideas of how to digitize your classroom. There's multiple, various, a wide array of devices, resources, tools that can be used to help digitize your classroom. It can seem overwhelming, but don't fear. That's why you went through the module, and you could conquer it. Just take it a few steps at a time. Like I said, I hope you gained a lot from this. Don't be afraid. Stick with what you're doing, and you'll find purpose in it. Thank you for listening.